Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Allie from the eSUB Marketing Department, and we are here again with our monthly Quick Tips webinars. And this month, we are focusing on daily reports. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce you all to Ross Wisnat, our presenter for today. Ross is an implementation specialist. He's flown up the ranks here at eSUB and quickly became a valuable member of the training team. Ross majored in business administration and hails from North Carolina. He's a major Tar Heels fan, so we're really lucky that UNC doesn't play till Friday. Now, just a couple other housekeeping items before we begin. This webinar is being recorded and we will be sending that out after the webinar concludes, so you'll have full access to it if you want to share it, watch it again, if you have to leave early. Secondly, if you have any questions during the presentation, please click the arrow to expand your GoToWebinar panel and submit questions in the chat. We will answer questions at the end, and any questions we don't get to, a trainer or support rep will be happy to reach out to you directly. Now, lastly, we are kicking off 2019 with our first eSUB Academy at the Contact Roadshow in Atlanta on April 17th. eSUB Academy is a great opportunity for you to get in-person training from our great trainers at eSUB, just like Ross. And for a limited time, you can get $100 off your registration. Just use eSUB, or just use the code eSUB 100 off. And if you have any questions, we'll definitely send that code out to everybody after the webinar. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Ross to get started.
All right, great. Thanks a lot, Allie. Like Allie said, we're trying to make this sort of as interactive a session as possible here. So please, feel free to type questions as they come up. If we're going over something that you want a little more detail on, go ahead and type it right into that question box. I'll try to answer as many as possible there. So yeah, to that point, I'd like to go ahead and start this training or this quick tip session off with a poll question. And since we're going over daily reports today, I thought a good question would be, how many of your users in eSUB are currently adding pictures or field notes to their daily reports? So I'm going to go ahead and let Allie open that poll. And while you guys are answering it, we're going to go through some quick tips and tricks with your eSUB daily reports. Great. So as most of you probably know, in the subcontractor business, it's not necessarily about what you've done. It can be more about what you've documented that you've done. And to that point, daily reports can be one of your best options for that day-to-day documentation. If we take a little time every day, we'll have that information on the back end, on the corporate office side later, and that can be very valuable in finishing up projects. So to that point, you guys should be able to see my screen right here. I'm on the select project page in my eSUB web account. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into this little test project I've made, and we're going to check out the daily reports. So I'll come into my project, I'll come up to create, and I will go to my daily report tab. And I'm sure you guys have looked over this, you've done your daily reports or you've at least seen this module before. So I don't want to go line by line here and kind of bore you with the details of all the information here. The purpose for today is just to get a little more out of your daily reports, get a little more customization, something that maps to your guys' workflows just that much smoother. So I've got a couple of points I want to hit here. The first is going to be the comment section. So for the comment section on the daily report, you can see we've got our preloaded fields here. If you're familiar with the internal comments box, I can always check that to make a comment internal to eSUB to make it only available to my eSUB users. But what some people don't know here is that we can actually label manage these comment fields to further kind of map to your processes. So you'll see we've got our 7 or so comments here. But let's say I want to record if there's a delivery made to a job site every day on my daily report. I don't have a header specifically for that, but I can leverage the label manager within eSUB and change one of these fields to map better to my business process. So from here, if I want to change that option, I'll go to Navigate up to Administration to get into my database for eSUB. I will go to Company Setup, and then I will choose the Label Manager right here, the second one down. Once I'm here, I'll need to search by the daily reports so I can get all of my daily reports terms. When I search that, it'll come to my comment fields here. You can see a couple of my fields have already been label managed, so I've changed other visitors to safety reports. Let's change that extra work and favors field over to deliveries received. When I save that, I'll have that new comment field. Now when I come back into my test project and I come back to create another daily report, you'll notice that now my comment field here has changed to deliveries received, and I can indicate that customized information straight on the comments field for my daily reports. So that's going to be step one for the daily reports here. Another thing is managing this crew tab. Now I've got all the fields turned on for this crew tab right here, and sometimes it can be a little cluttered, especially for our guys in the field. And if we're not utilizing these fields, there's really no need to have them available for your guys filling out these daily reports. So what I'd like to show you is a quick tip on how to hide some of these fields, make things a little more streamlined, a little more straightforward for your field level users here. So again, to do that, you might notice a theme here. I'll go up to Navigate and Administration. I'll go back into Company Setup. And this time I'll go to Company Preferences and select my Daily Reports tab right here. Now this has a variety of information we can customize on the daily reports. It's a section of eSUB that I would say is underutilized, but this is a great place where we can actually change what everyone sees on these daily reports every time they come on. So like I said, maybe our company doesn't do overtime or double time. So I can come in, uncheck these fields. Maybe we also don't track, let's see, materials or units on the site. I can make those customizations here. Now when I save my data and get back to my project, what you'll be able to see here when I come back into my daily reports section is you can see my unit tracking is now gone, my overtime and double time are now gone, and I believe the other thing I unclicked was the materials section of the daily report. And you'll notice that that field is no longer available here too. So this is a great tool from the office. Obviously, simpler is better when we're entering things every day. Less room for mistakes, less room for slip-ups. We can always make those adjustments from the company preferences page. Great. I'm just going to check the question log here. And it looks like I've got a question that says, I'm in an area, I guess Canada, where we're using Celsius instead of Fahrenheit. Is there a way to change that on the weather information? And that is definitely a great question. As you can see up here, just like the questioner said, our temperature is going to default to that Fahrenheit temperature. But if we want to change that, we can always go into Navigate Administration. Again, back to the good old administration, company setup, company preferences, and right on this top page right here, we won't have to go into a document type. We can change that weather information right here. So that's a great question. I'll go ahead back to our daily reports here. One other thing I get a question of in a lot of my training sessions and a lot of my support calls when I was working support was how to use this hours lost section of the crew tab. So you'll notice here we've got our one times. We can record our time right here. Let's say 8 hours. And then we've got this lost section right here. And then maybe I lost 2 hours of productivity there. The question I get all the time is, does that mean my guy was on site for 10 hours? We've got, 8 standard time and then 2 lost hours. And the answer to that is going to be no. This indicates that our employee was on site for 8 hours, but for 2 of those hours, we've lost productivity. You may or may not know that anytime I enter a lost hour on a daily report, I'm going to need a comment to back up that lost hour. We want to know, sort of in the final analysis of this project, why we lost any productivity. So anytime I try and save, and I'll quickly fill out these fields so you can see what I'm talking about here. And I'll come down and try and save this. And what you'll notice is, well, I need a contact. There we go. Well, what you'll notice is we've also got a red field on the comments section. So I need that backup documentation. Maybe equipment was late to site by 2 hours. And now that I have that backup documentation, I'm able to save the document. Now, another great thing to know here, while we're on the subject of lost hours, is going to be the hours lost report. So this can be an underutilized report, but when we're looking back over our crew information, our dailies kind of in total, I can always come up to reports. I'll come down here to the hours lost summary, and I'll be able to see every instance of loss of productivity for this job. So we'll see the date we lost productivity, the cost code or labor activity associated with that loss of productivity, the labor class of my guy who lost that productivity, and then the notes and comments section that we just added there. So this is where we can aggregate all of our documentation in one place and see kind of why we were losing productivity on this particular job. As in with a lot of areas with eSUB, we've also got this handy from and through date that we can filter by as well. That's going to be our hours lost portion of this daily report quick tips and tricks section. The last thing I want to show you here is one of our underutilized portions within eSUB is going to be our corporate management tab. And this is a great way to see all daily reports across projects. And anytime I want to access that, I'll go ahead and go to my blue CP. And come on. And then I'll come up to my documents and I'll go to daily reports. And now what I can see is my daily reports across all my projects ordered by date. So we can see the one I just entered right here. We can also see that one was entered yesterday, et cetera, as I go down the list. We can filter these by documents. We can filter these by our open, closed bid projects. We can even filter these by notes and comments. This can be handy if you've got something that you want to capture on the daily report, maybe a per diem, something like that. So every time you have a comment that says per diem, you're going to be able to come to your corporate management, search that comment, and then you'll only see the daily reports that have that associated comment with them. Again, corporate management is a great tool for eSUB, and I find that it's underutilized. I think people could get a lot more value out of this. So please take a look here and see how this could kind of help your business processes in the future. I'm going to go back to the questions here. Yeah, that's a great question. So one question I get is for the mobile app. If I change these settings like I did in the company preferences section, if I removed that double time, that overtime, I think I removed the units tracking as well, is that going to translate over to my FieldWorks app? And the answer to that is absolutely. Any changes you make from that company preferences page, I'll go back there one more time, just so everybody's on the same page here. Back to Navigate Administration, back to Company Setup, and then into Company Preferences. Any changes I make here, or even in the label manager, which is one step back from here, are going to translate over to that Fieldworks app? So that's a great question there. And that's really going to be the end of our daily reports quick tips session today. I can recap what we covered today real quick. We went over including and excluding various sections from company preferences. We went over that label manager to personalize those comments fields. We went over the hours lost and the hours lost summary. And then we took a look at corporate management and how we can aggregate those daily reports in some different, more powerful ways from a corporate overview level. So we've got one more poll question for you today before we wrap up. And I believe that poll question is, was this session informative? Did you take anything new away that maybe you weren't aware of on daily reports? And I think we'll be showing that poll now. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Allie.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ross. We did have a couple more questions just roll in. One came from Mike. It says, do you have training available for Spanish speakers?
I do know our support team is working on some Spanish speaking videos at this point, and I think we've just gotten a new trainer, Tyler Newman, who will be able to give Spanish trainings to users. So yes, that is correct.
Perfect. And then the second question is, can you show me how to enable and disable the email daily report setting?
Yeah, absolutely. That's another good question, and that's going to be right where I am here in company preferences. So that's an easy one for me right now. I'm going to come up to daily reports. And this is where I can change that email daily report section. We can change it between a PDF and a link with attachments here. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so if we didn't get to your question or if you have anything that comes to mind, we'll definitely reach out to you or feel free to email us at support@esub.com. But thank you, Ross, so much for going over daily reports today.
All right, great. Thank you, Allie, and thanks everybody for your time today.